The letter was written in uneven block letters, the kind children used when they were careful and nervous at the same time. Dear Santa, please send me a dad. It arrived at the North Pole Post Office, or rather, at the city charity sorting center that handled letters to Santa every December. Volunteers opened envelopes, smiled at wishes for toys, and quietly set aside the ones that felt heavier than paper should. This one was heavier. The girl's name was Mila. She was 7 years old. She didn't ask for dolls, phones, or bikes. She didn't even mention Christmas. She wrote, "I promise I'll be good. I already help my mom and do my homework alone. Mom says dads don't come back once they leave, but maybe you can send a new one. One who stays." The volunteer who read it had to take a moment before breathing normally again. The system was simple. Touching letters, especially ones involving loss, were anonymized and sometimes shared with donors who supported family programs. No names, no addresses. Just words. That was how the letter ended up on the desk of Alexander Rowe. Alexander Rowe was a billionaire, though few people used that word around him anymore. They preferred reclusive, private, or difficult to reach. He ran a global logistics company, owned more buildings than he could remember, and lived alone in a house so large it echoed even when he stood still. He was 51. He had no children, no wife, and no one waiting for him at home. That December morning, his assistant placed a slim stack of letters on his desk. "These are from the holiday charity initiative you approved," she said. "You don't have to read them." Alexander nodded absently, already reaching for the top one. He didn't know why he kept reading. Most letters blended together. Requests for help, for warm clothes, for school fees. They were important, but distant. Then he opened Mila's letter. He read it once, then again. Something tightened in his chest, sharp and unfamiliar. "Please send me a dad." Alexander leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. He hadn't thought about being a father in years, not since the night he stood outside a hospital room, watching his wife through a glass wall, knowing she was gone before the doctor said the words. They had lost the baby with her. After that, he had learned how to build an empire. But not how to rebuild himself. Mila lived in a small apartment above a closed bakery. Her mother, Elena, worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at dawn and packaging food at night. She smiled for Mila even when her feet bled and her back screamed. Mila had learned early how to be quiet. She woke herself up. She did her homework alone. She never asked why other kids had dads waiting at school gates. When her class assignment asked them to write a letter to Santa, Mila hesitated. She stared at the paper for a long time. Then she wrote the truth. She didn't tell her mom. She didn't expect anything to happen. Letters to Santa were just pretend. Alexander couldn't stop thinking about the letter. He carried a copy home. He reread it at night. He told himself he was being ridiculous. Children wrote things like that all the time. He wasn't special. He couldn't fix something so deep with money or sympathy. Still, the letter stayed. A week later, he asked his assistant a question he had never asked before. "Is there any way to follow up on one of the Santa letters without crossing boundaries?" She paused, surprised. "Sometimes we connect families to mentorship or support programs. Carefully, with consent." Alexander nodded. "Do that." He didn't say why. Elena was suspicious when she got the call. A private foundation wanted to offer family support, educational programs, possibly a mentor for Mila. She almost said no. Life had taught her that kindness often came with conditions. But the woman on the phone spoke gently. There was no pressure, only options. Elena agreed to meet. Alexander did not attend the first meeting. He watched from behind glass in a conference room down the hall. He saw a small girl with braids too tight and shoes too worn. Mila sat straight, hands folded, eyes alert, like someone used to making herself small. Something in Alexander broke quietly. He turned away. That night, he made a decision, not a grand one, not a dramatic one. Just a steady, careful choice. He would not try to be a savior. He would try to be present. The foundation arranged for Alexander to become a mentor. No promises, no labels, just time. The first day they met, Mila looked at him with open curiosity. "You're very tall," she said. Alexander smiled, startled. "I've been told. Are you rich?" she asked bluntly. Elena flushed in embarrassment, but Alexander laughed softly. "Yes," he said, "but that's not the most interesting thing about me." Mila tilted her head. "What is?" He thought for a moment. "I make really bad pancakes." Her eyes widened. "My mom burns them." Elena laughed for the first time in weeks. They met once a week. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they built puzzles. Sometimes Alexander just listened as Mila explained her drawings with intense seriousness. He never promised anything he couldn't keep. But he always came back. Months passed. Seasons changed. Trust grew slowly, like something fragile learning to stand. One afternoon, Mila handed him a picture. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands. "This is us," she said. "But I didn't draw you as Santa." Alexander swallowed. "Why not?" "Because Santa goes away after Christmas," she said simply. "You don't." Elena noticed the changes first. Mila slept better. She laughed louder. She stopped flinching when someone asked about her family. And Alexander found himself rushing meetings to be on time. Learning how to make pancakes that were only slightly burnt. Reading parenting books at night, embarrassed and grateful all at once. One evening, after Mila fell asleep on the couch during a movie, Elena spoke quietly. "You don't owe us this," she said. "I know," Alexander replied. "Then why are you still here?" He looked at Mila, curled up with her stuffed bear. "Because I want to be," he said. "If that's allowed." Elena nodded, tears slipping silently down her face. The adoption process took time. Paperwork, evaluations, fear, hope. Alexander never rushed it. He never pressured Mila. He waited for her to decide what he was to her. One night, close to Christmas, Mila placed an envelope on the table. "I wrote another letter," she said. "To Santa." She shook her head. "To you." Inside, written in careful letters, were the words. "Dear Alex, you don't have to be my dad if it's too big. But thank you for staying." Alexander closed his eyes. When he opened them, he knelt in front of her. "If you ever want me to be your dad," he said, voice steady, "I would be honored." Mila thought for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Okay," she said, "but you still have to fix the pancakes." That Christmas, the house was smaller than Alexander's mansion, but warmer than anything he had ever known. The letter to Santa sat framed on the wall, not as a miracle fulfilled, but as a reminder. Sometimes, the greatest wishes aren't answered by magic. Sometimes, they're answered by someone who finally listens, and stays.